Hello and welcome to the Season 7 finale of the EMJ GOLD podcast, brought to you by EMJ, your number one open access destination for HCPs and pharma globally. I can't believe it's the season finale, Jade. It's come round very quickly.
So quickly, isn't it? It's been really lovely, though, to chat to such a broad range of people over the past season from across the industry and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. We've covered a lot. I think everything from women's health to leading with authenticity. There's been a huge amount. And yeah, it's really been fantastic to talk to everyone this season.
Definitely. But coming up in our finale today, to celebrate the launch of AMJ, the US arm of EMJ, we'll be speaking with Dr Tadaaki Taniguchi. He's the Chief Medical Officer and Head of Medical and Development for Astellas in the US. In his role, he leads the company's global team to identify, discover and develop treatments that have the potential to transform healthcare. And this is all with a particular focus on innovative and patient-centred therapies.
That's right. Tadaaki has over 20 years of industry experience, which spans across research, development, medical affairs, so he's got a huge range under his belt. He's worked in diabetes and oncology, of course. He's also worked all over the world, the US, Japan and China.
International indeed. And not only do his accolades span all of the above, he's also a former doctor, so he's done a lot in his time. He's spent 10 years as a surgical oncologist, which has given him quite the unique perspective on how to deliver breakthrough science that changes the way that diseases are treated. So some really invaluable experience there.
Yeah, and that is definitely something we cover in the interview, amongst many other topics around his leadership style, game-changing treatments for cancer, and much more. So without further ado, I've literally just spoken to Tadaaki, so hence why I'm in the same clothes. Let's get into it. So Tadaaki, welcome to the Gold podcast. We are really pleased to have you join us today for what is our finale episode of season 7. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. This is a great opportunity for me to, meet you and have some talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, there's loads that I want to cover with you today. We're kind of going to talk a little bit about your career, a little bit about your work at Astellas. But where I want to start is leadership. So after a career in medicine, you've had a career in medicine and, a big career in industry as well. You took on the role of Chief Medical Officer at Astellas in 2022. So this is obviously a big job, a big move for you. I'd love to know how your diverse experience up to that point prepared you for this role and how it sort of shaped your approach to leadership today.
Thank you. My career actually started as a surgical oncologist almost 20 or 30 years almost, right? And, it was a great start, really working with the hospital and for the patient, and particularly looking at, the cancer patient. This is really still, the versatility that we need to actually work, hard. And then, I worked also, some of the lab in the UK and all my PhD. And then, I decided to join to the pharma, back into Japan. And this was also the great, the moment that I decided to change my career. It was hard, decision because, I love, surgery. I love to meet patients, but also think that it's so important for us to be able to actually bring more medicine to the patient to actually treat such devastating disease. And so that's actually allowed me to actually go into the different career paths. And I also see the fascinated that, so many science moving forward at that time and working for the oncology, also the disease area. And since then, I worked with, pharma, close to 24 years now. But I see the huge, advancement of our treatment of the cancer, particularly, and working in industry like pharma is also a really great opportunity for me to be able to actually contribute more to the society and patient, as well as, of course, in the day we want, cure the cancer in the future.
Well, oncology and cancer therapies is definitely something I want to come on to later in the conversation because obviously it's a huge priority for you. But something I wanted to sort of touch on first was around drug development. So in your role, I know you're responsible for the drug development side and the medical side. Your experiences as a surgical oncologist, how does that affect your day to day when you're in a pharma company? Obviously, you've got all this insight that from your previous career. So, does it guide you in any way? Do you think you make decisions differently because of your experience?
Yeah, I think it's the when I started working, oncologist or surgical oncologist, outcome for the patients matter, right? Patients want to have the best outcome, meaning that, best treatment, best surgery, best additional treatment, like, potential chemotherapy and so on, and actually wanted to survive longer with possible, health. So I think this philosophy, outcome is matter for the patient. It's continue to for my, the center of whatever I do, because it's so important, as drug developer, you need to think about what's the matter for the patient, which is the outcome. Right? So how can I actually bring the best outcome to the patient, and what the barrier looks like, and how we actually overcome the time when I'm working in a hospital. This is really, influence how I also see the drug development, because drug development is not easy. New drug development, you actually see, the success rate is very, very low, right? 1 in 10,000 sometimes, we actually go to be successful. But we need to learn from failure, right? There's a lot of failure in a drug development, but also need to think what's the best outcome looks like, for the product as well as for the patient, how we actually bring there. I think this is extremely important thing to actually working in the industry and make a difference for the patient.
I find it interesting that you touched on failure there. Do you think your career in medicine, where things really are life or death, sometimes you don't have control over these things, do you feel like that prepared you for some of the failure you have to deal with inevitably in the pharmaceutical industry?
Yeah, I think it's, of course, you try to do the best anyway. Whatever you think is the best, you work for that for the patient, or even apply to drug development. But you may face some of the the pushback from the situation that, for example, in clinic, you may try to do the best treatment like surgery, but the patient may actually suffer from complications, potential, for example, like infection, whatever. Then how you actually address that, and really think about the patient view, what they want to be able to actually back on the track that treatments moving forward, and have the right treatment and the right outcome to moving forward. So particularly looking at drug development, early stage drug development, from preclinical to clinical, many products are going to be, killed because of the efficacy, because of the safety issues, because of the complicated issues, right? So, but I think whatever we do, the work in a pharmaceutical company, you can learn a lot from the failure. Why we actually fail. Why the data coming up from the preclinical or the research is not necessarily easy to translate it into the actual clinical outcome or efficacy and safety. This is always the things that we can learn how we actually, and then we need to looking at what we can do better, by learning from the failure, and then we can really looking at how we actually apply this failure to actually hold a successful another product. I think this is always learning process that we can continue to improve our way of working, as well as the technology and of course expertise and skill set.
Drug development is obviously such an important function, but also medical is, and increasingly so. You talk about always getting better in drug development. It's what do you think needs to get even better in medical? What's your hopes for that side of the organization that you oversee?
Yeah, I think it's organization perspective. Obviously, the failure is always challenging, right? So we, as a CMO, we need to set the right expectation. This is the expectation we have. How we actually going to move there to meeting such expectations, and encourage the team who actually working for the product is really taking even some of the risk that they can actually try to do differently, that we can actually make a better way to develop a product even faster, or even a better quality, or better science, or even cheaper, right? So that's what we need to work with. But I think it's obviously things not always going as we expected. Then we also encourage the team to really thinking about, to innovate, to actually looking at what they can do, to actually overcome such challenge. And that is also the part of the innovations and bringing out that skill set or, the leadership that they can actually thinking and, try to different approach or try to actually even partnership with someone else who can actually help the you to actually doing even better job.
Well, yeah, you were talking a little bit there about how innovation can help you solve challenges. I think collaboration is another great way to do that. And I know this is something that you're really passionate about. So I was wondering, in your role at Astellas over the 2 years you've been there, has there been a collaboration that you're really proud to have worked on and you feel like other companies could learn something from, perhaps? What would your peers like to know that you
Yeah, I
can
think
share?
it's collaboration is a great word, right? How we actually collaborate, how we actually work together. I think that's extremely important. But I think that it's not easy. I running my organizations, development organization, including course, regulatory affairs, pharmacovigilance, and medical affairs, and clinical operations, and so on. But we cannot do just by our own. Of course, we need to looking at internal collaboration into large organizations, and also need to work closely with our research colleague, and we also need to work with manufacturing and CMC to make sure that we actually have a path forward moving forward. This is the more talking about internal collaboration, but I think this is also extremely important how you actually actually create shared goal and people looking at that same directions and really discussing more openly and frankly to really how they can actually go there. Because you go in this direction, you may see much easier to pass to going to forward the development perspective. But at the same time, CMC, they may not be able to actually, do the work that the development team will need to go. So how they can actually work together, for example. And of course, the research side, they also need to produce more data to supporting a clinical study and clinical trial to moving forward, and they also need to really think about how they can actually also contribute. So this is extremely important. I also thinking about collaboration, not just internal collaboration. Like we also need to work with external partners. Because we are the middle-sized pharma. We have sort of good resources, but at the same time, we also can leverage with expertise coming up from other academic centers or biotech company partners as well. Even big pharma, we have a partnership with Pfizer and others, Merck and so on. So how can actually create an environment that we can actually bring in, the team to the next level by leverage with external partners, their skill set, knowledge, and expertise. I think that's extremely important. Recently we also got partnership agreement with Mass General Branningham, which is a huge the research organization with a lot of the patient there. So they also have a different view that they willing to actually work together with us to developing the extremely important medicine to the patient in oncology as well as the rare disease area. So we see the huge opportunity to partnership such organization because they have more academic view, we have more industrial view. We can get together and how can actually work together and create more data to supporting the product developing much faster or much higher science that we can actually convince the regulators or payers. And then in the end of the day, we can actually looking at even addressing a different patient populations that they come up with their idea. So I think this is also on continuous effort that how can actually be open and to actually collaborate with external partners like the academic partners or biotech or big pharma, because I think this is a huge opportunity. But saying that this is not easy, sometimes people hesitate, and also there are a lot of the barrier to doing so, in terms of the partnership agreement. But I think just looking at the best outcome. Again, back to the best outcome of the patient. This is really makes sense that we can work together with academic centers. Internal collaboration is also important. We can actually work with other pharma.
I mean, collaboration is such a big topic. I feel like we could do a whole podcast on it. But yeah, I liked the points you raised there about the internal working together internally, but also the importance of pharma companies coming together, putting their differences perhaps aside or their different objectives aside and working together. So I hope that is something we will see more of in the future, particularly from you guys at Astellas. Kind of talking of collaboration, different expertise coming together. I think the oncology space is somewhere that technology is becoming so huge. AI is becoming so huge, both on the drug discovery side, but screening as well, of course. So what do you think is going to be the next big game changer in oncology? And what's Astellas's place in that? Have they got a horse in the race?
Yeah. There are a lot of advancement in oncology area, as you're aware. Of course, now we have, checkpoint inhibitor. Immuno-oncology is really making a huge difference that, in the past, we never achieved some of the patient, populations, cancer patients actually benefit, even cured with such treatment. And we also see a lot of the progress of targeted therapy like TKI and now ADC, antibody drug conjugate is coming up. So the huge advancement of technology. This is incredible news for the patient that they can have more the treatment option that be available to actually have better outcome to moving forward. But by saying that, still, a lot of patients still suffering from that, with this advancement, even with advancement. So what we're actually looking at in the future, of course, in oncology, the one area we actually focusing on, we actually have, engager bispecific product that's actually moving forward in a clinical phase, in a multiple, targeted disease area. And that we also have ADC, new ADC, immunostimulatory ADC, that we also moving forward. And of course, we continue to invest in the novel small molecule and targeting, for example, DGK inhibitions. I think that's also moving forward. And we also need to really, moving forward other, modality such as, the cell therapy, like, allogeneic CAR-T, using AXL technology. These are the really advancing. I also like to also talk about, TPD, targeted protein degradation. This is also new technology that we actually addressing some of the undruggable target like KRAS. So I think these are the advancement of the technology, really helping us to have more diverse treatment option that we can actually address the disease or target that we cannot never achieve with such technology and science. So I'm very excited, that we have, multiple modality and technology that we can support, to moving forward the new treatment, development. And obviously this is not easier, but I think I have a, very positive, the movement of our pipeline to address the such large unmet medical needs.
And it must be quite amazing to see from your perspective, having been a surgical oncologist, a little while ago now, how far treatments have come and how far they are going, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when I'm working in a surgical oncologist, I still believe that the early detections and the surgical resection the best treatment, because if you actually cure this the small surgery, that's a best. But the reality that many patients is coming to a clinic or hospital with advanced, the cancer, for example, then you need to have additional treatment in addition to surgical resections or chemotherapy or, radiotherapy that was available when I was working in a hospital. But I think, since then, of course, molecular biology is actually flying over, and the new immunology, like checkpoint inhibitors available, and TKI targeting a specific, target like ALK or EGF and BRCA even. So I'm so excited, this momentum that we have, the huge advancement of the science help us to actually seeing more different modality and disease combination that we can actually target, the disease which is not addressed in a past, in a traditional medicines.
Thank you so much. Really interesting to hear your thoughts on that. I want to talk a little bit about you now. I know a few things about you. We actually haven't had the pleasure of meeting, but I do know a few things about you already. And I know that having a growth mindset is really important to you. So, where does this come from, first of all? And also, how do you foster that in your teams? How do you push your teams to have that kind of attitude?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. I think, I actually work, as I mentioned, starting with my career as a surgical oncologist in Japan. I also work, in the UK, for my PhD. And and also, of course, back to Japan, I work in a drug development. But first study I actually learned is actually in the the oncology trial in the US. I also spent some time in the US to running a trial in both oncology and diabetes. And, of course, I had an opportunity also work in China, to developing, some of the organization there. And now I'm in, back in the US again. So this is also helping me to really understand, the different culture, different business environment, different people, and how I'm actually going to, develop my leadership skill, understanding the the cultural environment, and also the business environment. I think that's also helped me to really come into this level, in order to actually, thinking about how we actually, lead such diverse organizations, as we operate, globally. We have team members, working in, 30 countries. So you need to understand all the background when you're actually leading such diverse, organizations. And you also need to pay attention to what they need, from the country perspective, regional perspective. Of course, in the end of the day, we do the development globally, in US or Japan or Europe or sometimes China. I think, how we actually make sure the team working together to moving forward is so important. So I think, my cases, I think that, working in 4 different country or, regions, helping a lot to shaping my leadership style, that we also respect diverse opinions and, the different, approach, and also adapting in a local environment that we can make the biggest impact, positive impact to the patient.
Gosh, yeah, that is a lot of countries that you're bringing together, and can understand how it's helpful to, yeah, kind of try to get everyone in the same mindset and thinking in the same way. I know another thing that you are very keen on is challenging the status quo, daring to be a bit different. Why do you think this is important to conclude, and what can really be achieved if you think differently?
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. Really putting growth mindset and thinking and challenging to status quo is so important. Whatever we actually work, there's no easy way to actually going to develop the new medicine in this world. Everybody working very very hard. Honestly, there are a lot of big pharma working for that, and middle-sized pharma, and also small biotech. And even now, academic center, it's also have the ability to actually, bringing such new medicine to, the clinic, and they're actually also really looking at how they can do differently, So just really thinking about drug development, out of book thinking is so important, because you never know. If actually talking about, for example, cell therapy, gene therapy, this is totally new area for the cancer treatment or even a rare disease. And you need to really understand what the challenge looks like and how we actually address it. This is also the providing the opportunity for the team members really think differently and work together, of course, and really innovate the approach that we actually thinking about. So this is opportunity for the growth mindset, because you actually try to be going to the senior level and also try to demonstrate much higher level of the leadership. You need to actually grow. You need to actually think different. You need to actually influence positively to the people who are actually supporting you to actually achieving your business goal. I think that's a hugely important, the mindset that, because people tend to be willing to stay more comfortable zone. Right? This is a tendency of the human beings. People willing to stay in a comfortable, because we see that we have a little more control, right? We have a control, and people more comfortable that with whatever we do. But that thinking about career development, and also thinking about the impact that you can make in a society, and really thinking about growth mindset is so important. Right? And so challenging status quo is really required. The mindset that whenever wherever you're actually working in pharma industry or drug development, even academia, you need to really think differently in how you actually approach, and what the best outcome you can achieve, what the barrier looks like, how you can approach with yourself or with your support from different the people or different organizations. That's the key for the really changing the mindset. But I think this is hugely important for the people really thinking about of course their career as well as the daily job that they can make a biggest impact.
So important for the career and for the business. Ultimately, daring to be different, it seems, is your advice to pharma leaders. Tadaaki, thanks so much for joining me today. It's been lovely to chat to you.
Thank you very much. I think Isabel, this is a great opportunity for me, and also thank you for inviting me this podcast.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to Tadaaki for taking the time out of his busy schedule to join me for that episode. It was great to cover such a range of topics with him. I particularly enjoyed his reflections on his time in medicine and how it had informed his career in pharma. That was a particularly interesting bit for me. What about you, Jade? What was your key takeaway?
Hard to pick, but I found it really interesting when he was talking about having a growth mindset and how that feeds into really challenging the status quo. I think that's such an important quality for a leader, and if you do want to be different and achieve different outcomes, you have to be prepared to open your mind to new possibilities. And I think in particular, working in science, that's incredibly important.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really enjoyed that bit too. Dare to be different, as I said at the end there. But that does bring us to the end of today's episode and to the end of the season as well. A huge thank you to Tadaaki for joining us, but also to all our guests that were on the podcast over the last couple of months. We'll be back after a short break with more conversations with more really interesting guests, so look out for it.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled. Season 8 is sure to be a great one, but until then, it's bye from us.
Bye.